Okay, this is going to be in English, by the way, because it's going to be streamed online. First of all, welcome to everyone. I'm happy to see you in such great numbers. It's yet another OWASP event. This is the 5th this year. As I said, this one is going to be streamed online as well. So I started the streaming, and I hope it's working correctly. If anyone needs to use the bathroom after such a great snack, please take your phone with you, and since it's streamed live, you will not miss anything. Okay, what I want to say is this is part of OWASP EEE Eastern Europe event. So this is an event happening in 7 European countries, actually in 6, because Romania is Cluj and Bucharest. Bucharest is following tomorrow after this event. All of them are streamed live and definitely offer very, very interesting presentations. For today, for Cluj, what we have in store is 4 presentations. Different, definitely one from the other. As you will see, very interesting. We will start with Stefan, the insecurity of standard communication channels on the internet. He's going to make you mistrust anything that is on the internet, at least. Then Ovidiu is going to speak to us about Let's Encrypt, which is a very interesting initiative from let'sencrypt.org. It's basically what it is. It's a open source or open alternative, or a free alternative to a certification authority. Marius is going to talk to us about gamification. So a lot of people talk about this word. It's a bit of a buzzword now. How can we transform our trainings to make them more relevant to people, and people to start to see training as definitely not boring, and to learn easier from information security and application security from trainings. And the last one is about CSP, content security policy, and you will find out more about that then. The main idea is that there's going to be a couple of tricks how to use that, and some examples with which we're playing in the company I work for right now. So this is the plan. I hope you find the presentations interesting. And now I'm going to pass the word to Stefan, who is going to walk us through his presentation. Just a second until we switch. Okay. Just to say, for the ones on the internet, please comment on the website if there are any issues with the transmission or with actually seeing the presentation on the screen. This will be shared anyway, all of them. So do let us know. Also, if you have any comments, we will take them one by one and answer them either at the end of the presentation if there's time, or at the end of the entire event. Thank you, and I leave you with Stefan.
Thank you. My name is Stefan Farr. I'm a software engineer and architect. Okay. So I make up stuff. I come from the field of privacy, so I'm a little bit, my interest goes a little bit beyond the brute security that you guys are into. So I would like to talk about a little bit about different aspects of security, like the personal security over the internet, the privacy, the social issues regarding the hacking and the criminality on the internet. So, in order to put a little bit of context into the presentation, I'm going to talk about a couple of truisms, like the differences between our reality and the internet. Our reality, the physical reality that we're used to, is, needless to say, very different from the internet. We have physical limitations, we have space, we have time. If a robber wants to enter in your house, he needs a getaway car to go to flee the scene. And we live in a competitive world. And in this competitive world, in order to have fairness, and everybody should, to have everybody succeed, we have rules, and we keep these rules. Unfortunately, some people don't want to keep these rules, and they present a problem. Now, the internet is very much different. If we are to compare it with somebody, we can compare it with hyperspace. We have basically a teleportation infrastructure where anybody can be anywhere, anytime, instantly over the internet. You don't need a getaway car, you don't need transportation means. This is basically a utopian environment where anybody can be like anything. And the rules that apply in the real world, the rules that we set ourselves to be fair in real life, don't really apply on the internet. So, of course, in these, if somebody breaks the rules in this economic game of ours, in this competitive world, they obviously get an economic advantage. And you can, to emphasize this, I would like to talk about a little bit from the perspective of those that break the rules. Usually, somebody who breaks the rules, we call it an attacker, because he will take advantage of certain aspects. The idea is that our approach to cybersecurity has been very much a defensive one in the past, or the mainstream approach. In this sense, this means that we basically focus on defending ourselves from the enemy rather than actively engaging into destroying the enemy, which would be an offensive attacking mode. Okay, and I want to emphasize this aspect of attack and defensive mechanism is that usually the victory always favors the attacker. Why? Because the attacker has the advantage of priority. They have time to plan the attack, they will spend their energy to plan the attack, and when the attack happened, the defender needs to work on the aftermath of the attack to handle the problem. And you can see here in this chess situation, the attacker has the advantage because now the defender needs to spend a step from his energy or resources in this case to make a choice, whether to save this one or save this one. When the defender makes his choice, the attacker has the ability to make another step, another attacking step. So in my opinion, it is very much important that we switch into an attacking mode in the internet rather than to just keep into the defensive arena. So I will be talking about a distributed collaborative client certification system today, which is an approach that would like to eliminate criminality, cyber criminality, by certifying every single user that connects to the internet. So the problem in cyberspace is that nobody really has a face. People can connect to the internet, and you, as somebody, I mean, as a company, as the entity where the person connected to, you don't really see the person. You don't know who he is, what his identity is. In the real life, when a person goes into the store is very much different. So the problem is that on the building blocks of the internet, the TCP, MAC, the Ethernet protocols, none of them are built or were built with this aspect in mind. And they don't have any identification, real identification mechanisms, and anything can be forged over these protocols. Then there are the SSL TLS protocols, which are built upon these and which do have a certification, meaning that they do identify the two parties communicating. The problem with it is that it's very much feasible for businesses. Certificate authorities have a pretty easy job certifying businesses, but they're not very applicable for people in general. So while the TLS has the possibility to have both ends certified, what we use now is usually only for the businesses. And so for users, applications usually use an in-app session-based authentication system, which I said here that it's yes and no for people. It's yes because it does identify people. It's no because people over the internet can tell anything about who they are. They can lie. But the idea is that between these two, there is a window of attack. The window of attack is the problem that a person connects to a website, and between the moment he authenticates and between the moment he connected, he has the possibility to attack the site. Because at that point in time, he's neither authorized, but he is accessing the site. Most of the attacks happen in this window. Now, I would like to close this window if possible. So let's see why SSL certificates are not viable for people. Businesses, with businesses it's different, it's easy. Businesses are public by nature. They have public information. Everything is out there for people. They basically want as many people to find them as possible. Information is also very reliable. Businesses register into business registries, and then they are few in number by comparison. With people, things are on the contrary. Information is very private by nature. Nobody wants to be found on the internet. I don't know if it's visible here. Privacy, this has implications, great privacy and legal concerns, because if you authorize or certify somebody on the internet, the personal information of a person can get into to be certified by somebody in a different country with different legislation and stuff. Also, with individuals, information changes fast. People get married, they change their names, they move. And then there are too many. So the client certification mechanism is pretty much an abandoned avenue, at least in this certification or authority system that is in place today. What I would like to propose here is a distributed and collaborative client certification system that would close this gap. The idea is that this would be applicable for individuals. It can provide an up-to-date identification while all the while respecting privacy and manage the number. We'll see why, because it's distributed. There are some differences to the standard certification, although this certification does not replace authentication. Okay, so it is a second layer below authentication. And it will not be done by the existing CAs, certificate authorities, but rather a different one. How it works. So this collaborative authority, this collaborative system works with what I call a collaborative client certification authority, or C3 authority. And the idea is that the certification comes with what I call a zero-degree client certificate. The zero-degree client certificate, the person goes to the authority, requests a certificate. The certificate is issued to them with no name, no authority, no identification, no email, no nothing. Just, it's a kind of PKI system that has basically two things. Individual will get the private key to sign stuff. The certification authority will retain a hash or something to be able to trace back to the client. And at this point, the authority will issue some kind of verification mechanism. So we'll see later in time if it's needed, when it's needed. So how is this useful? Because at this point, the person is not authorized. I mean, we don't know who he is. So he does have a certificate, but we don't know who he is. The collaboration goes this way. Normally, an individual, after he got his 0-degree certificate, will log in to a company, a web company, that has the capability to, like a communication provider. So for instance, your mobile company, okay, or your email company, email provider. When he logs in, he signals back, when the person uses his certificate, the first degree CA signals back to the authority that he has the possibility to contact this person, okay, because he can connect his email or his phone number or whatever it is to this person. At this point, this certificate becomes a degree 1 certificate, so which means that there is some kind of security in it. If somebody gets hacked with a certificate like this, the person can connect back to here and issue a warning. The real interesting part of it comes with the 2nd degree certification authorities, which are authorities like your internet banking or your bank, or institutional portals, or medical institutions who have access to you as a person. When you log in using your degree 1 or degree 0 certificate into their portal and you authentify yourself, they will signal back to the C3 authority that they have the possibility to identify you physically. Now this becomes very interesting because if you see this very complicated diagram, but if a certificate is used in an attack, you can see that, all the while respecting all the privacy of the people, the offended entity can get back to the individual via this certification authority channels. For instance, if the offended entity was perhaps maybe a forum, and the person is using, I don't know, defamatory language, they can signal back to the C3 authority that the certificate has a problem. The certificate is communicated down to the degree 1 authority, who issues a warning to the person that his certificate is being used, or he is using his certificate to do stuff that shouldn't be done in that forum. Now, if this thing happens, if this breaking happens with a more complicated situation like a theft or robbery, and in place there is a degree 2 certification, the channel is, again, pretty easy. The offended entity goes to the legal authorities, who go to the C3 authority, who go to the 2nd degree authority, who can identify the person physically, because that one is either an internet bank or already the authority itself. Now, how is this helpful? Let's see. Now, this certification happens on the very bottom level, below HTTP, okay? It happens on the SSL level. So there is no window between the SSL and the HTTP authentication. When you connect it to the site, or anybody with any packet, your certification, you already left your business card there, okay? Now, there are some sites that do not need certification, so they will just accept degree 0 certificates. They can be sites who accept degree 1 certification, or forum, for instance. They don't work with money, it's no problem. And then there are the sites who work with money, like web companies or dealing or brokers or web shop and stuff like that. Now, what they can do is they can only accept, if they can choose to only accept degree 2 certification, which means that if an attack happened, they can trace back to the person. Anything that comes on the TCP channel, which is not signed by a degree 2 certification, can be dropped. Now, effectively blocking an attack. Either you block the attack, or you can trace back to the attacker. So these are two possibilities. Now, of course, the system is not entirely perfect. If a criminal cannot attack anymore without leaving a trace, they will definitely try to leave the trace to somebody else. So there will be compromised certificates, such as certificates stolen from devices that were disposed improperly, certificates left there. They can be certificates that are stolen from hijacked computers. But the danger is that this cyber criminal can go and present themselves with a client certificate and attack the web company in the name of those people. This, of course, applies to any other thing, not necessarily just breaking and entering. It applies to sending spam, sending malware over the internet, viruses, and all sorts of stuff. Now, obviously, this situation cannot be prevented because there will always be people who will lose their certificates or they get hacked and have their certificates stolen. But we have to remember that in this scenario, this kind of behavior can be detected. This will be a big data analysis environment where sites will report back to the CFE authority all sorts of information. Anonymous, but they will report back. And the site will do analysis. So, for instance, if an email company detects that spam is being sent with a certificate, they can immediately report back to the CFE authority. And they can signal that this certificate is sending spam. Now, at that stage, the authority can block this certificate and can issue a verification mechanism. The verification mechanism can be, it's not decided at this point. It can be anything. Type in a kind of a password, something different than typing your mother's maiden name. Probably is this not necessarily the safest thing. Now, other challenges that can that will play this this technology is adoption. Adoption will, in this situation, will have to bring together a lot of companies, website builders, companies that will be the future certification institutions, browser builders, operating system builders, and so on. But then, if this will happen, this can be truly epic, because it can provide a lot of statistical information to people about their behavior. They can go to the authority and regularly look at where they browse, immediately detecting if there's suspicious activity with their certificates. They can implement parental control. And also, in the future, emails and every single uploaded file can be automatically signed by uploading application with this certificate. So if somebody uploads a malware, immediately it will be detectable to where the malware is coming from. That's pretty much it. I will be posting this technology into the OWASP project idea board. So everybody is welcome to pitch in with ideas, comments, and counter arguments, anything. Thank you very much. If there are any questions now.
So we have a lot of time, so if you have any questions, can we have questions over the internet? We can, but there's no question. Okay. Yes, I don't see one. Okay. We have a question. Let me just.
So by using your solution, I would have to give up all my privacy while browsing the internet. And me, I can understand maybe a company wanting to do this, but as a user, why would I do that?
Okay, you actually don't have to give up any privacy, not even as much as you're giving up today. Because, for instance, the authority that certifies you is not this. This has no idea who you are, okay? The authority that certifies you is this, which is your bank, or your medic, okay? Or your police institution. They already know who you are. So you're not giving up anything more than you already must give up because of the legal system that we live in. Okay? Everything else circulates only on an anonymous identification, which is unique to every other system. Okay? So the certificate was issued here, it was authorized here, okay? And then everywhere you browse, it's only the hash code that is being sent back here. Only at the point when something illegal happened and this chain starts, will the authorities be able to actually get back to you, okay? And not through this, they won't find your private information here. This can only tell them where they find your private information, okay? Who have the private information? This one. The same thing happens with the emails. Actually, it's more private than today's, because if you log into a forum, they will force you to leave your email. In this scenario, you don't have to leave your email. Even if something happens, okay? The forum can choose not to ask you by email, and if you do something illegal, they can trace back to you anonymously without actually violating your email address. Because, for instance, here's the forum, okay, the offended entity. You posted, or somebody with your certificate posted something, okay, illegal there. So they will go to the C3 authority and say, this certificate with this hash code did this, okay? They will say, okay, go here and tell them to tell him, because they know who you are, okay, by email or by phone, that this is not good. So he doesn't have to know your email, okay? So it's more private than today's system.
There will be certain providers like email providers, web hosting providers, or even banks from certain countries who won't implement this system. And probably a lot of users will prefer to go to these providers and not the ones authenticated by this system. Is there any way to force authentication or so? Or in this case, it's nothing you can do?
This is a problem of adoption. Obviously, it's going to be a challenge. But there are some boundaries that, that force you at some point, if sufficient companies come aboard, you will not be able to avoid the mechanism. Of course, if tomorrow somebody like, I don't know, maybe, I don't want to say the name, but a web shop would implement this scenario and he says that I need a second-degree certificate before anybody else has it, and will drop every other connection, they will go out of business. But there can be a transition time, and people can adopt, and because it's private, anybody who doesn't do any illegal things on the internet can go aboard. I mean, I know this is a buzzword that I don't do anything illegal, so I don't have nothing to hide. But in this scenario, you don't have to hide anything because you're not exposing anything. So if you don't do anything illegal, it doesn't make any sense not to go aboard. But it is going to be an adoption challenge, definitely. Anything else?
A question for actually for Ovidiu. Yeah. Who's going to present Let's Encrypt? How does this fit with Let's Encrypt, or can these two be combined?
I think they will.
They will be combined.
They will be combined.
Okay. Stefan, what do you think?
It's different.
I don't really care as long as we can stop criminality at some point. So, yeah, I mean, anything that can take us to point where we can actually identify criminals, it will be good for me. This idea is picked up by a company, it's good for me. If it becomes an open source project, it's also good for me. Or if it's just going to be abandoned, but it sparks another idea that brings us to success, it's also good to me. That's all.
There was a question there.
So aside from adoption concerns, I mean, we have a lot of websites who did not adopt SSL as of now. So the cost would be rather large to implement this even at the company side. I think the aspect, the impact on the individual, you've mentioned identity theft, it is not trivial. Why would people want to do that if they jeopardize themselves? I mean, I forget to wipe out my phone and I might be indicted because it's something somebody has done this on my behalf. What would be the reason for me joining the system?
Okay.
Actually, again, just came from a conference where a nice person presented a situation where he was a forensics investigator and he was defending people who are actually presently prosecuted by the very same situation. Even today, if your IP is compromised, you're going to get the police on your door. Okay? If your website gets labeled by accident that you send malware for any reasons, maybe if you didn't, maybe you did inadvertently, you will be flagged and wiped out of Google. Okay? So don't think that if you don't jump aboard of such a scenario or a solution, your privacy is going to be protected. It's not going to be protected. It's even worse because today your IP can be used by anybody. Okay? In this situation, only somebody who actually can steal your certificate can use it. Okay? In today's scenario, if I want to, I can spoof your IP and I can be with your IP 10 places on the internet. Okay? But here, I need to go into your computer, break in, steal your certificate, and use it. And that's where we get back to the big data scenario. When the clients, when the websites join this system, if somebody reports back with suspicious activity, something that's like, I don't know, the types of sites that you never visited, for instance, are suddenly now being visited, they can immediately lock your certificate, okay? And these activities can then be detected and stopped. And so, as the adoption continues, as more and more people come aboard, it will be ever more difficult to steal certificates, because even by stealing certificates, you will be forced to leave a trace. So you will have to steal a certificate, to steal a certificate, to steal some money somewhere. Okay?
It doesn't protect you 100%. There is no such security thing like being protected, but it adds another layer to the existing ones. Yeah. So it would be, you make hackers' life much harder than normal.
How would you go about accessing the web for public computer?
Sorry? No, I
How would you access the computer from a public the web from a public computer?
it's him who can answer to
I
that.
mean, you will really trace it over.
You will leave definitely traces from a public computer, but I guess public computers are becoming a thing of the past. I mean, with mobile phones and everything, everybody has access to the internet right in their pockets. You don't have to go to an internet cafe anymore. I mean, you can. Some libraries do have internet access, but it's, I mean, yeah, maybe they will be full of hackers. You will go to the library. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Stefan. It's 6:35. We're like 10 minutes early, but I would continue with the next one. and we'll see what happens afterwards. Okay. So the next presentation is this one. Yeah, this one. So Ovidiu Cical is going to present for the next half an hour actually, and the topic is very interesting. That's all I can say.
Thank you. Okay, first of all, I already spoke with Stefan before my presentation, and I was about to say I'm not going to present anymore due to his topic, but I do think these two subjects get along very, very well, and you will see why in a short time. My name is Ovidiu. I work here at Cluj. We develop software systems for security, so okay, I do have a topic that I think interested most of the people that care for security and people that want to develop secured application for their clients or for their company. Okay, I'm going to present some general information about what is TLS or SSL. It's something that you probably heard of and you use it, but if you didn't, I will get more deep into it. This is a cryptographic protocol designed to provide secure communication. What it does, it ensures the following three things. It provides privacy, so data cannot be spoofed. It provides integrity. Data cannot be altered, so it will remain the same like it was sent. And lastly, it provides a trust that after establishing a secure communication, that data belongs to you. So you are the one that sends the data and not somebody else. Some real short history about SSL. Recently, there were a lot of I don't know, security flaws discovered in these protocols, and they needed change. So I'm gonna just present the real big ones. In 2014, the last implementation of the SSL protocol, which is SSL 3.0, was found to be vulnerable, and that vulnerability was considered so bad that in 2014, SSL implementations were dropping of installations of servers and emails and all of that. Following SSL was TLS. Actually, they worked together in the same time. But TLS was considered to be more secure, and it had better implementations. The first version of TLS was released in 1999. It's based on SSL 3, but the differences between them make them not interoperable. The main differences for who wants to know is the use of mags, and this has changed dramatically in TLS 1.2. Then they followed TLS 1.1 in 2006, which probably most of you are using if you secure web servers and email servers. And in 2008, they released TLS 1.2, which is the most recent one, and which I suggest you adopt in your applications for this year. There is also a draft of TLS 1.3, which it's a work in progress. It will be soon released, I hope, next year. It has a lot of improvements. It's easier to implement if you develop software that needs to work at this level. So you can look into that also. Okay, TLS or SSL, it's one thing. It's the protocol that it's used, and most of the people and also developers associate it with OpenSSL, which is not the real definition. OpenSSL and all the other listed here are implementations of these protocols. So there are a lot of them. Most of them listed here are free, open source. You can browse their code. You can see how they are implemented. Some of them, I don't know if I listed one here yet. The last two polars and the CISSL are also paid. So these are implementations of the TLS protocol. And I have an example here shortly, which will be made with OpenSSL since it's the most common one used. Okay, Stefan earlier presented a new way of creating certificate authority. So for us to understand, it's important to know what the certificate authority is if you want to create a new one. So even if you want to work with a new technology, you have to know how the old one works or how the current one works. So that's why I'm not afraid to continue this presentation. It will be for good. Okay. A certificate authority, or CA, is an entity that signs digital certificates. So you see that on many of the websites, web shops, web servers, and even email servers. They have this implemented. They use certificates to provide their identity. This is what they use, and all of these certificates in this year today comes from certificate authorities. These are big players in the market, and they issue a lot of certificates each year, and those are paid certificates. Some of them, and I'm sure you all know, because when you look at a certificate in your browser, you will see either DigiCert, Google, VeriSign, and a lot of them. But this is not something every company has to implement inside. Or there are situations when you don't need to actually purchase a certificate for your use. So this is where creating your own certificate authority comes in place. You can have all the security, you can ensure all the encrypted communication and secure communication yourself. You can do it yourself, you can do it for the company if it's required. To do this and use it, it's easy, and just learning something very quick will provide a lot of good for your company. The most obvious sign when you use a self-signed certificate, and most of you I think saw it already, when you browse a website or some internal resource in your company and you see a warning that the certificate is either issued in the company or it's not trusted by the browser. This is the most common warning that you get when you see this certificate. And I'm sure most of you already ignore it or just click proceed. So you're already using this certificate created in your company. Okay, this is an example. Here I wrote just the steps. So for those of you who develop, but not only, to understand how creating your own certificate authority works and why I say it's so easy to do it, that you must do it if you need it. First of all, I'm going to use OpenSSL. I work with OpenSSL in the company where I work. We find it very easy to use, and they have a great YOLA you can work with just for a few bucks. So it's great. First of all, you have to configure that if you want to sell the product later. If you use it for you, it's okay. First, you have to configure a file. This file contains a lot of information. It's information which is valuable for creating the certificate authority. This information will be so often used that you need to create it okay, and you need to be careful with it. This certificate will be used each time this configuration file will be used each time you will create a new, if you want to use it, will be used each time you create a new certificate for a third party. The second step is to create the root key for the certificate authority. So from now on, what you see installed in browsers or in systems, every system has a folder where you can see a lot of certificate authority certificates. Just go, for example, on a Linux machine in /SSL, you will see there lots of root certificate authorities. Those are the public ones. The third step is to create the certificate itself. With the root key you created previous, you will create the certificate. You will sign the certificate with that key. The most common period for this kind of certificate authority is 10 to 20 years, because that's the certificate which, the moment will expire, the entire chain will issue a warning if they are not renewed from time to time. So be sure that when you try to create a certificate authority, make it for a long time, at least the root certificate. The fourth step, and a very good practice, which I encourage you to do it, is to create, based on the root certificate, create an intermediate certificate. That will be the certificate in key you will be using to create actually the third-party certificate. This way, if your intermediate certificate is compromised some way, then you can revoke it and create a new one based on the root certificate authority you have. So always create an intermediate one. You will chain them together, which is very easy. You just concatenate those two files, and you will be using that certificate, that intermediate certificate from now on. Okay. The next obvious step, after you create your certificate authority, it's real simple. You will sign your first certificate for a third party. So they will create a key on their systems. They will generate a CSR, which is a certificate signing request. They need to provide you just the CSR, and based on that, I'm sure most of you did it. If you bought a certificate from a certification authority, you already done that. You created a CSR, you provided that to the CA, to the root CA, and they issued you a certificate based on that. The same will be here. You create the key, you create the CSR, you provide that to the root CA, and based on that, you will receive a valid certificate from that authority. You will be using that along with your key, otherwise it won't work. So this is how simple you can create your own certification authority or certificate authority. Use it in your products, in your company, or for friends if you want to use communication this way with them. So you can simply encrypt and decrypt messages between you using these generated certificates based on your I think most of you trust you the most, so I suggest to do this. Okay. That was my first part of the presentation. I have a second one, which is more interesting. I presented certificate authority because this service I'm going to present now acts as a certification authority, but most important, as a free one. So instead of paying big money to those big companies, which is not a bad thing, up until 2015 was not a bad thing, you will be able soon, if you have a domain or you want to secure something, you will be able to get a certificate for your service free of charge. It was quite funny. I proposed this topic to Lucian a couple of weeks ago or more. So today or yesterday, we received an email from one of our friends from OWASP. His name is Jim Manico. He's a great guy. He's board member for OWASP, global board member. If you want to see him in action, you can see it Saturday on this event, which extends up until Saturday. And he tried to make us aware and tried to somehow ask us, all the OWASP members, to spread the word about this service. Let's Encrypt is a service which is run by a non-profit organization. They want to provide a free, automated, and open source certification authority. So everybody can see what's happening there. Everybody has access to the resources. They can see how their infrastructure is built. All of this is public, is transparent for you, for all of you. And most important, something that no other big certification authority is doing, they even provide you the automated tools to do this. So you can do it with a simple agent that will take all the work from generating the keys, the CSR, and then install the certificates on your systems for the web browser or for emails, for email servers, and so on. It has a lot of purposes, and it will have a lot of purposes. And the main goals of this service are to be free, so everybody can afford it. So this way, everybody would think about implementing security for their websites, for their applications. A lot of people now, even today, certificates are getting cheaper, but a lot of people and a lot of small companies don't pay for it. So not paying for it, they cannot assure simply HTTPS on their website or applications, and this way they are vulnerable. The second goal is to be automatic. Like I said, they will provide you the tools to do this automatically. You need so few knowledge about certificates in this case that you will be able to install this service on your systems very easy. To be secure, this is something I want to see for myself. I want to see how they will implement security in this service. It's a challenge. I'm very curious how they will do it. I will follow their infrastructure to see how they will provide security for all the data they will be collecting. So they will be transparent. So at some point, like I've written here, all the certificates issued or revoked will be public, of course, not the private ones, the private keys. So you will see how they work. And one of the main things that they try to do is to be cooperative. So these are big goals. I think the service can provide a lot of good for the web. So I would love to see all websites, or at least the websites I care about, to see they have implemented HTTPS. I'm talking about HTTPS because it's the most common form of encryption we all know. So this is emails use encryption, applications use encryption, but HTTPS, it's something that all of us can see. Even I think even my mother, if she sees HTTPS with a green sign, she will call me and say something. This is something bad here. It's green. It's all over green on my browser. So I'm going to tell her what's there from now on. Probably Let's Encrypt won't provide this kind of validation. Those are organization validated certificates, which require a lot of work and a lot of resources. Also, I'm gonna present you a little bit how the service works. It's easy. So first of all, you have to validate your domain. So you have to validate that you're the person in charge of your domain that you want to secure with that certificate. Doing that will be done through an agent. So you will install an agent. As of today, the agent is a Python version of an application. You will install that on your server or on your system, and it will communicate directly to the Let's Encrypt infrastructure. They will get a certificate from there, which will be used just for the client or the agent. And the moment they do that, and they will know which agent will act as X, let's say. So all of this, up until now, what I saw on their website, it's done over HTTP. Okay, so I think they will. This is something in generally it's called an unsecured web service because you don't authenticate in any way in this step. In this step, you just try to get authentication method for you. So you make this first request, they will issue a certificate for you. Then the subsequent request will validate that agent with the certificate, and from that point on, you will be able to issue, revoke, or renew certificates with the key they provided you in the first step. So in this step, after you validated your domain, from that point on, you will the Let's Encrypt service will know about your identity and will allow you automated to operate on your certificates. This is shown here in the second step, which is the certificate issuance and revocation, of course. On this diagram, you can see that the communication with the Let's Encrypt service, it's also encrypted, which was not valid for the first step, where we had to register on their services. All the steps I showed you earlier in the create your own authority are done automatically here. Like I told you, they have this agent that will they will create the key, they will create the CSR, the certificate signing request, they will communicate that back to the Let's Encrypt services, they will get the certificate from there, and if you want, they will even install it in Apache Nginx. I think this is what they do in October 2015. I'm sure they will add more support to this automated service, but as for today, this is what it's done automatically for Apache and Nginx. I don't know if I can play videos here. Lucian? It's here. I'm going to show you a video from their website. Do we have internet connection here? Okay. Thank you.
Setting up an HTTPS
Okay,
server correctly requires immense amount of effort for system administrators. The required steps involve esoteric instructions which make the process error-prone and time-consuming. Even system administrators that are familiar with the process can take over an hour to receive a trusted cert and install HTTPS on their system. Furthermore, certificate revocation is also made simple with Let's Encrypt. If you mistakenly issue a certificate when IDP becomes compromised, simply perform the Let's Encrypt code scan. The client presents you with a list of your Let's Encrypt certificates, and all you have to do is select and confirm. The client will perform all the necessary challenges, and your certificate will be revoked instantly, free of charge. Let's Encrypt will enable all websites to protect their users' privacy through the use of HTTPS with secure configurations. The age of clear text communications is finally coming to an end. Let's Encrypt.
That's about it from their presentation. Let me go back to mine. Okay. Okay. Hope it was clear also from the video, or at least I presented you better than the video without the sound. Okay. Looking at what Let's Encrypt wants to do, I think we should really care about it, and we should really get involved into Let's Encrypt some way. I don't know, for those that code and even write Python, you could step in and help them with automating more processes or more web servers or email servers, whatever it's required. They have lists on their websites. They have requests from people to help and to make the service somehow available as soon as possible for the general use. Look into this, recognize the importance of such a thing, such a company which is non-profit, and recognize the value of being able to issue a certificate for your applications, for your domain, for your websites, and the importance this can bring to you if you have private websites, for you if you have applications, for your company, if this fits you. Like I said, write some tools. Even global certification authorities, the ones that are today, won't go away very soon, that's for sure. With this kind of service, we won't be able to cover all the need of SSL certificates nowadays. But it's a step towards a better value for something that shouldn't cost that much from my point of view. So look into Let's Encrypt, try to adopt it, wait for the date it will be publicly released. Last month was the first month that they managed to issue a certificate. So they managed to issue their first third-party certificate. You still have to install the root certificating authority in the browser, but it's there. It will be out soon. They requested from the major players like Chrome, Firefox, Edge, Microsoft Internet Explorer, and Opera. I'm sure email clients will follow, and all other bigger applications we know will follow to adopt their root certificate authority. And this way, I hope in a year or two, and with the update for the software, we will be able to use Let's Encrypt easily from now on. Thank you. Thanks OWASP for joining me and for giving me the chance to present these two services. Services that, from my point of view, are very useful for you as a developer or tester or whatever you do in software companies or not. Thank you. Do you have questions? Yes, please.
Thank you. Well, it's not a bad idea to be your own certificate or authority, but I'm seeing a potential problem here. Let me explain myself. If you don't perfectly secure yourself, you're in grave danger because, for example, if you have an application which is vulnerable to CSFR, or even your sysadmin wants to save some bandwidth and doesn't redirect properly, then one bad guy can perform a man-in-the-middle attack and SSR strip and screw you in every way around because he can change everything. However, if the certificate authority is on a public port and it goes outside, then he can only proof your certificate, which shouldn't be a wildcard. So only the domain would be in danger. It's a good idea again, but it has to be perfectly implemented and secure because if you drop something, then everything is compromised, especially with SSL strip.
There was a question there, right?
The question is, this would come with a lot of expenses because you have to pay for penetration test, because if you drop something, then it will be very pricey to recover from that kind of test.
Does this come with great expenses?
Depends at what step in your product you want to implement this. We built a product like this, but we built it like this from scratch, so it was no major cost for us. But to get back to you, SSL strip won't work in this case. SSL strip works if you initiate a non-secured communication. Otherwise, you cannot go to secured with that tool.
Yeah, but if the application is not properly secured, then you can help the man-in-the-middle attack. What I meant to say is, do you issue your own certificate for a certain application or for like wildcard?
I don't understand.
But the certificates which you authorize are signed automatically for all the applications inside the network, or one differently for every domain?
It's inside the network and it's signed for each application or instance of the application we have. So each of those are identified and are each of the instances we have for the application that are communicating with a central server are uniquely identified before getting the certificate. So the moment we issue a certificate for them, we give them a serial for each of them, which are then identified unique. So you cannot put a man-in-the-middle attack in this situation.
Should we make a proof of concept?
I'm up to it, of course.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Other questions?
No.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ovidiu. We'll take a 20-minute break. Just to say that one of our sponsors, Checkmarks, has arrived as well. So if you have any questions for Moni, he's available. See you in 20 minutes. Thanks. Guys and girls, I invite you to the next presentation. Hope you managed to speak to whom you wanted to. And if you didn't, there is time definitely after the event. So we're gonna continue our presentations this evening with a presentation about gamification. And this is gonna be presented to us by Marius. Yeah. And it's now on screen. So I leave you with Marius. Good luck.
Thank you. I'm a little bit nervous. I don't know if it works. No, it doesn't. I thought if I push F5, it will be full screen. Just a second. Yeah. Just a second. Okay. So, good evening. I'm nervous, very nervous. In this evening, we will talk about information security through gamification. And let me introduce myself. I work for CTF 365. Usually, I'm a pizza boy, office boy, marketing, PR, sales, and sometimes people call me CEO. I don't know why, but this is it. If you want to talk later, you can reach me over the Skype or email or here after the presentation. So first, I want just to frame the problem that the world confronts with. So this would be the problem. I don't know if it's security or insecurity landscape. As you see, I just wanted to point and emphasize that big security vendors, they were hacked too or breached. And besides that, according with Juniper research, they said that 38 billion devices will be connected to the internet by 2020. So this would be an issue, I suppose, 38 billion devices to stay and protect them, all of them. And hacking Internet of Things, it's not an unusual thing. As you see, Tesla chip, because you know them, they were hacked. A sniper rifle, it was hacked too. Peacemaker hardware was hacked too. So hackers are getting busy and busy and having fun. So the problem with the employment in information security, it's that it rises the employment, and those number 11%. It's year by year for the last 3 years, and it will go like that. I don't know, for the next 3 or 4 or 5 years. And also the demand, it's much higher than the supply. So I don't know if anyone from here think to switch to information security. This would be a good time. So this would be the framework. Anything can be hacked, and the information security industry needs a lot of security professionals. So the problem is, I wish to say that it would be easy just to connect to a device and within seconds to know information security. Bad news, it's not this time, okay? So the bad news is that we have only 3 options to learn information security, and those options so far I don't think will make those 1.5 million security professionals job that the world needs. For example, security training companies, they are training that takes a few days. They are very expensive, and usually it is boring. CS faculties, they teach you, if they teach you, because I have spoke with the professor which works here also, they will teach you basics. So you will have to work hard to get 1 or 2 levels up. And self-taught, that would be Google forums, video tutorials and stuff like that, which is boring too. You with a blank terminal blinking in front of you. So that would be the framework and the big picture, what people usually think about information security. I don't know if we don't do anything, yes, we are screwed, because we won't be able to fulfill those 1.5 million jobs for, to make our work a little bit secure. And for that reason, we come up with an old concept, but somehow new within information security field. The way information security can be learned and taught. As you see, when we talk about everyone from here, I suppose they play some games. Gaming, it would be learning something using a game, and gamification, it's something just using gaming elements and to fulfill a task. In learning pyramid retention rates, that would be one of the highest retention rates, gamification. And that because it covers all above, like lecture reading, demonstration, discussion group, and practice by doing. So information security, it's nothing, something that you learn just reading, watching video and stuff like that. It's something that if you really want to get in, you have to get dirty and hands-on. There is nothing that you can say, okay, I've read I don't know how many papers and now I am a security professional. That would be wrong. By the way, I've seen a lot of people who they have security professional certificates, but when you put a keyboard in their hands, they look at the keyboard like, I don't know, the cats at what? At the dogs. So we thought if you want to learn hands-on security, we should make it challenging, entertaining, fun, and to be community-driven. It would be much easier, and the trip would be much funnier. Sorry, I don't have a script, so I just talk from my thoughts. When we talk about gamification, usually people look at badges, rank, and points, but those would be just some achievements that helps you to show you where you are at what levels, and proving what you can do better and where you can improve your skills. So gamification, it's about motivation, social interaction, mastery, and progress. So it's not that to play something, it's that to make something in an enjoyable way. Benefits for gamification: improve almost everything. I don't know if improve your dating rates, but otherwise, attendee motivation, retention rates, and attainment for sure. So those are a few companies that use gamification in different for different purposes. For example, Microsoft have Office 365, a site where using gamification teaches you everything about Office 365. Siemens have something called Planville, where people can learn what is the entire process within a plan. SAP tries to improve their communication. Samsung and Verizon also for customer engagement. When we talk about gamification, it might sound for you a little bit easier. It's not easier, because designing gamification, it's tough. And believe me, there are companies that they try to gamify some of their goals, and they fail. One of them, as I recall, it's Adobe. They try to make, using gamification, they try to make users to improve their subscribes. So if you ever want to implement gamification in your company, you should take care of those 5 elements: player, mission, motivation, mechanics, and challenge, because they are the most important things when you try to implement it. One more thing, gamification, it's not a project, it's a program. So therefore, you should design it very well before you start to implement it. This much so far. So if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer to them. No question? Thank you.
I wanted to ask if that is. Can you, because the presentation took a while, can you explain gamification to somebody that doesn't have enough time and basically you have to do it in like half a minute? How would you convince someone in half a minute that gamification is something they need to implement as soon as possible?
Well, I'm not prepared to convince you in half a minute, but what I can tell you is that usually we are children, grown-ups children. We love to play, but most of all we want to achieve our goals. So to make our work much easier and not to think we are going to work, gamification would be the only solution to make it fun and entertaining. So I don't have half a minute. I'll work on this speech.
No, it was pretty good actually. So,
Oh, thank you.
so you recommend basically changing existing awareness programs in companies for developers, for the entire company? Is it information security? Is it more application security? Can be anything. I mean, where do you see it applied the easiest?
Well, I will tell you a little story. A friend of mine who is a senior information security at a big company tried to enlarge his security team. And I was asked him why you don't try to take some people from your IT department, which is 250 people. Why don't you try to implement gamification with them and try to make them to see information security that it's more fun than usually? And he said me that he tried, and I told him that he didn't try harder or hard enough, because as I said before, here you should take care of those player mission, motivation, and mechanics. For example, I would start, I didn't have time to tell him, but I would start to ask IT department what makes them happy, what they want to make their life much easier, and why they don't consider to move to IT security department. And from there to start and to build a game for them. For example, I would award programmers who they don't have too many vulnerabilities in their code. That would be something like, oh, look, you wrote very well the code, you know, and stuff like that. So there I would start for, I don't know, for security, because I have to tell you this, after I've talked with this friend of mine, I put on Reddit this question, and you would be surprised to see what programmers and web developers answer to me, that they consider information security. I don't know if you know the fight between architects and structural engineering. So that would be the same, yeah. So they don't find programmers and web developers at this moment. They have a misperception about what security means. They think that it's not funny, it's not entertaining, and they don't see any good thing in there. Yeah. So for them, being information security professional would be like being the black man. Yeah. So yeah. So here you have to work on those, because they are very important to know in your department what is most important for them and what attract them into your department if you would be in security departments.
I hope there weren't any black men getting offended. And one last question. Ovidiu was saying that his mom is actually very aware of security, because she sees the little lock on web pages, and if it's not there, she gives him a call. Look, it's not there. So what can you do something for this kind of people as well? Through gamification.
I'm not yeah, it could be done, but here it would be like a little bit more to discuss. For example, the most wicked link in security, it's the human being. And usually, for example, phishing campaigns have a high score, I don't know, like 95% they reach their target in phishing campaigns. And there would be something like try to make awareness program for phishing campaigns, yeah, to see who did click on the link, who didn't, who report as a spam and stuff like that. We already have in our company, but we didn't put it on the market. We have something like that. And that could give you an overview over your company, how many people click just to click, and how many people are prepared at the basic level or a little bit higher than that. For his mom, I don't have any suggestion at this time, but this would be something for mass awareness, because as you know, phishing campaigns, they are very successful. They have a high rate. Okay.
We kind of adapted your concept, and I just gave you a kit that allows him to try to promote a better coding within the organization. So the whole kit, there are prizes, there are contents and things like this. One of them, if any one of you is familiar with code, you can try a game of hacks.com. Okay? So try this one, this is ours.
Yes, I know.
Okay.
I know. Yeah, of course I know.
I think it's
I'm very well. Yeah.
I really showed it in Poland, and we got more than 20,000 kids in just 1 week. So it was amazing. And amazing success. I think that you will like it, and it's exactly the same.
I know.
Make it fun.
Yeah, that is true. It must be fun when you work on something. Any other question? Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Marius. We are 10 minutes early, but I think we can start because the next presentation is going to have a demo as well attached to it, and that might take a while. So I'm going to start it right now. So this presentation will be actually presented by me, by myself, and I'm going to be helped by Bogdan. He's the experimenter, so he's the guy doing the demo. I'm the guy convincing the other two guys that we need to speak about CSP. And the guy who's not here is who's in Portugal now with our team there. He's actually the actual brain behind the song. I'm basically stealing the idea from the guy and presenting it to you guys. So this is going to be about CSP. There's a lot of information on the internet, a lot of presentations on the internet, dating not too long ago. Actually, there was one in OWASP Europe in Amsterdam in May. There were some other presentations as part of OWASP before that, dealing with this topic, CSP and content security, basically content security policy. That's what it means. So we're not sort of reinventing the wheel now, but we're making a bit more awareness towards what this means and how you can use it in your websites. And I will start, first of all, by asking which one of you knows or already have an idea what CSP is. Have you ever heard of CSP? So I see one hand, 2 hands, 3 hands. Okay, I'm not going to ask you to explain what it is. You could have done that. All right. Okay, how many actually use CSP from the 3 that heard of it? Do you know that if you're an employer or if you have your own company or business or personal website, do you use CSP now? All right. Okay. Good. That means this presentation is going to be useful. I'm gonna delve into it. What is CSP? So think of it this way. You guys are accessing a website, and you're accessing content on that website. So that content on the website is fed into your browser. The website that you're accessing wants to control that, and they will feed you information through various headers, so that the information that is actually loaded and executed for you is controlled by a policy. So basically, to not expose you guys to various types of attacks that can happen through injection, basically. One of the attacks that is mitigated is XSS, cross-site scripting. Also, you might have seen on websites an error, which you get, especially on Internet Explorer. I've seen that, but that's present on Chrome and Mozilla as well. When you access a website, it tells you at some point that you're going to leave a secured page and you're going to enter a non-secured one. So this is mixed content. So basically, your website is not full HTTPS. Some parts of it are not secure. So there are various companies which are in this situation, and the company I work for has thought about this, and we want to make sure that our website is completely HTTPS. So that's why I'm going to speak a bit about what we want to do now to make sure that that is happening. So it's an HTTP header. It allows you to block while an application loads, connects, or executes, as I said. And today we're going to talk a bit more about CSP report only, which does just that. It only reports. So you don't block anything, but you get useful reports about what has been, what is not secure, basically. And you're getting reports on that, and you can decide what to do with that information, or if you need to take any action at developer level, or DevOps level, or you need to talk to your admins in operations. A lot of businesses use it. Facebook, Twitter, PayPal, just to name a few, and some darker sites as well, and you'll see what I mean by that a bit later. A bit of history about CSP and browser support. So as you can tell, CSP depends on the browser that you're using when you're accessing a certain website. So for example, let's say, I don't know, example.com, you access example.com with Chrome, and example.com has CSP 1.0 enabled. There are certain directives of CSP 1.0 which are enabled on that website, example.com. It depends very much on the version of Chrome that you're using, if the right content is loaded for you or not. So it depends on how the integration of that browser with the CSP version 1.0 of W3C actually. It was started by Mozilla, as it says, but W3C takes care of it right now. So how that implementation actually happened and how good it is. There are 3 versions now. The first one is very good and it's pretty mature. Exception is IE, of course. Internet Explorer is not necessarily a website friendly towards this kind of tuning. Version 2.0 changes some of these directives. So the actual directives which you can use to say, for example, I want you to load JPEG images only from this domain. And then when, again, just to repeat and make sure that you guys understand, when I access a website and this directive IMG is enabled, I can make sure that only images from my domain are loaded into that browser, into my browser, basically. Good. So that's just a bit of history. Version 3.0, it was issued as a draft 2 or 3 days ago. It was rewritten from the ground up, so it's completely new. As you can tell, not many browsers support it, so it's going to take a while to get it where it needs to be. Going to the next slide, so I said I'm going to talk about CSP report only. Why? Because, as I said before, it only reports, and you don't want to screw up the customer's experience on a website. So, and I'm going to say that later, we do recommend that you start with CSP report only. Don't start with actual blocking, because you won't know what's being blocked, and you might end up having some calls from to help desk to explain what's happening with your website. So this is an example of an actual report, and I know I won't get into detail because there's a demo part of this presentation which will show that. Bogdan will make sure that happens. But this is an example of an actual report. So blocked URI, document URI, original policy. So blocked URI basically tells you what actual URL was blocked. Document URI, where it is. The original policy, so default SRC, this is one of the policies enabled by CSP. Default basically encompasses all the directives. So I said IMG, SRC. There are other script SRC, for example. So there are more directives which you can control what type of content you want to block. Default SRC blocks the entire content, so you don't need to worry about putting all of them separately. You just put this one and you're done. But again, Bogdan is going to get into detail about this one. How is the content restricted? So as I gave the example of IMG SRC, so basically blocking images, you have the option to block nothing, so you just enable CSP, but basically it doesn't do anything. You can, so basically this would be a whitelist, because when you write self, that is the whitelist. That means that you accept that type of content from yourself only. And if you want to specify host names, you can do that too. So you can say that, for example, you accept an image from Google because you have something on your website which needs to mention Google for some reason. So anything basically that you embed in your website which is not yours, coming from third parties, you can restrict it through this directive. Specific host names. There are categories, so I'm sure you've heard of eval, so you can use that as well. These types of categories, anything that is inline, so any script that you put in line with your HTTP source is basically a potential threat. So you don't want to put scripts in the source code, in the source of the website. You want to put it somewhere else in the website to basically call it. And what you will basically control is that call. You make sure that the call goes to where you keep your scripts. You don't put the scripts in the actual HTML source. There are some bugs as well, but I won't get into detail. Some applets. Are there any Mozilla guys here? There was one in Cluj. No. All right. Well, anyway, they're still working at that. So it's like 2013 when they saw it, and it's still open. They still haven't clarified it. Browser extensions. That's interesting, and I'm sure Stefan will agree with me, because that means that I can see what kind of extensions a customer has enabled on their browser, which is great, right? Because we want to know a lot about our customers. So I'm not preaching about basically something affecting privacy here. I'm just saying that because the customer is ultimately responsible about accessing these websites. But definitely, if you want to know what's happening and what kind of activity the customer does on your website, this is a way to achieve that. And that takes us to the next slide, which talks about problems with these restrictions. So there are some patterns from the code that were banned by unsafe eval. Also, convert text to JavaScript functions like eval have some problems in CSP. Remove all inline JavaScript. So as I said before, don't put inline JavaScript into your HTML source. And last but not least, third-party scripts. So you might have heard of scripts which you put in your code. They're not yours. You put in your code and you, let's say, maximize your the intelligence that basically you get from your customers to those scripts, because they basically record everything that you do on that website. So it's basically possible to record everything, even the actual movement on the mouse on that website. You can do that. So there are some third-party scripts which can do that for you. But basically what we're saying here is CSP can control how that works. So make sure that your website doesn't load any scripts which do that. And you don't know. If you do know, that's good, because you're controlling your customers. If you don't know, that's bad. Yeah, well, pretty logical. So what are we trying to do? As I said, we're looking at CSP report only. So what we care about is making sure that any report about mixed content is received by us. So any customer that has any issues on the website and basically gets a pop-up saying this content that's going to be loaded is insecure, that customer, if he's paranoid enough, and some of them are, will call us and say, what's happening, because I'm on your website and I think it's secure, but because I did load an HTTPS page initially, but now it doesn't seem to be so anymore. So what can I do now? What should I do now? So there were actual situations when that happened. I won't say for whom. Again, with CSP you can protect against XSS, but just to say that you don't want to use CSP only to protect yourself against XSS attacks. So definitely the problem is in the code. Don't use just this attribute, basically, or this directive from CSP to ensure that XSS is prevented. It is an option, but don't rely on it only. As I said there, I put devil, so it looks good, but it smiles on the other side. Also, protection against injection of unknown scripts, so I said that, and also about that you will find more information on that website, on that link there. So I'll share the slides, of course, after the presentation. Helpers, there's no way to get all mixed content from your reports, basically from the browser, except by using CSP. So you might be searching through your source code, for example, or just searching through the actual source, HTTP source of the website. That's a way to do it, right? But there are various ways through which you can push content into your website. So it's very difficult to get all those scanned and basically make sure that you've found every possible instance of HTTP that you're loading on the website. So definitely CSP is very much recommended here. Don't push, as I said, CSP to production directly, use report only. And I have to say that we did some scanning and some XSS sites actually use CSP, and not CSP report only, they actually use CSP and they block stuff. So yeah, don't think that these guys are not mature about the security of their websites. They seem to be pretty good. Don't rely on CSP to protect, as I said, against XSS. And just to emphasize on that, it doesn't matter what backend you run. That's not relevant. We've searched for some stats. So Veracode, you might have heard of them. They scanned 2 years ago. They scanned with Alexa.com, sites from Alexa.com, 1 million sites, and the results were that WebKit CSP report only. There was only one website which used that. X content security policy, that was used by 79 websites only. And in this graph over here, as you can see, 96 instances of WebKit CSP found, but I have to say that 85 of them, or 83 of them, were actually from Facebook. So those guys seem to be doing a good job in this respect in CSP. As I know Stefan talks a lot about this, they do a lot of good job as well around our privacy. So as you can see, they're very mature in using CSP. So definitely that's another way to see what's happening with the customer in Facebook, not just by actually accessing Facebook, the actual application, but the experience within your browser as well. We did a bit of scanning as well. There was a Python script which we can share. We've scanned 250,000 domains, again from Alexa.com. We've got that report only 500 sites, so much more than 2 years ago. 700 which were actually using CSP. And as you can see now, can you guess the website? It's somewhere there. But definitely that website does have a CSP policy. And we were impressed. And last but not least, these headers that are served to you can be customized. So we discovered there's one called X Recruiting. So basically what these guys say is if you got there, that means you need to apply for a job because you're pretty good. So yeah, you can do a lot of interesting things with these headers. Because as I said, we do want to see what's happening on our website. The idea we had, which is not new, is to have a dashboard where to see all these reports and basically to be able to filter them and basically understand where the problem sits. This is how it looks like right now. It's called Sec Hunter. It's not impressive right now because it's at the beginning, but we do have in mind, or we do consider sharing it or making it public. So also there are some options already available on GitLab from other people. So if you search for CSP dashboards or something like that, you might find some code which you can use for your website to see what's happening there. Anyway, so the investment is not too much, just one web server, 1 DB server. Why do we need a basically, these reports need to go somewhere, so you need a server where to send these reports. Of course, there is a bit of a problem. Someone might DDoS your report server because you get so many reports that it can take all of them. So that is a possibility. But then again, it would be just your report server, so that would mean you don't get your reports. But that is possible. And yeah, that's it basically. If you have any questions about the project, we will be more than happy to answer them. But I have to say that some other people are very much further than we are and have something like this, which is a dashboard with, it says total CSP reports per domain, and the other ones I can't see right now. But anyway, this is how it looks for other people, and they take this very seriously because they're a 100% online business, and it's all about what customers do on the website, just like Facebook. This is, I think, from Twitter, actually. Yeah, and of course, you need to have some people to actually look at all these. So someone will get a job, which is great. Right? Until somebody thinks about automating this, because automation is very much a buzzword now. So until this gets automated, it's a job available. At least one, depends what you're doing with your website. Yeah, someone needs to take care of the server, someone needs to take care of the actual reports. So these two jobs there. So we're gonna have a demo. Bogdan is responsible about that. Yeah, I won't tell you what that is, but if you guys can discover in the meantime what that symbol on the guy's right arm means, I would be impressed. You don't need to impress me, but it will simply happen. Push to production, as I said, report only, so try report only first. There are some other people talking on the topic, so you can access those links, and you will find very interesting presentations. They're a bit more lengthier, and I think a bit more into the detail of actual implementation of CSP report only. So yeah, this is just raising your awareness towards this possibility, and try to convince somebody in your company that you need this. You might get a promotion, who knows? And as I said, somebody will get a job. So definitely try to think about this. Okay, so right now I will leave it to Bogdan to go through the actual demo, which will be showing you actual stuff, not just talk. It's going to take like half a minute to get this going. Right, we're there. Not really. All right.
Nothing works when I do that.
Okay, no. All right. Can you remote from my laptop to yours? Let's try that. Connect your laptop to a. Is it? Sorry guys, it's going to take like half a minute.
Guys, not just one, not just half a minute, a bit more, sorry. Just a second.
Are cineva un laptop cu zap? Băieți, vreau să te duc. Ai laptop cu zap? Uite, să aveți. Auzi, dacă putem să stop normal, setup și ăsta. Yes.
Stai un pic să apoi sunt care. Am și o mașină în casă.
Conference is not a conference about, sorry, if these things don't happen. It shouldn't take long now, just a second. Almost there, just a second. So let's see if it works now. Yeah, so this is what we have. Sorry, it's a small window, but I hope you will be able to see some of the goodies that Bogdan has prepared for us. And I give the microphone to Bogdan.
Okay, my name is Bogdan. Today I will demo you how to use CSP report only. We know that this CSP report only is a header that reports us the issues discovered or found on our web page. So here we have a web page that contains an image and a script. Both of these scripts has sources from a different domain than our domain, that is Cojocariu. We can see right there at the tag image, we have a link that is over HTTP. So let's see this content security policy report only header. We have 3 attributes in it. The first attribute is image source with value self. The second attribute is script source with value self. And the report URI, that is the endpoint that will receive the reports from the CSP report only. This value self, this value self means that all images sources from another domain than our domain will be reported by CSP report only. So let's see what happens when we inject this this header in the response of this web page. So we intercept the page with ZAP. Here is the response. We will inject the CSP report only header. And let's see what he responds. Here we can see the report. So here is the report sent by the CSP report only. It's actually a JSON object with some parameters, few parameters. The first parameter is blocked URI. That is the link blocked, the URI blocked from the web page by the CSP report only. The second parameter is document URI. That is the location where the blocked URI was found. The original policy is the construction of the CSP report only, and the violated directive is actually the rule that was violated in the web page. So in our case, the violated directive was a script that was logged from another domain that the web page domain. In this case, from Google Office. Let's see if the report, if the CSP report only sent us another report. Need to send another report. This is the second report. Okay. The same issue found in the page, but this time is the image source. The violated directive was an image loaded from a link that has a different domain than our domain. So let's take another example. Here is another header of CSP report only with attribute default source HTTPS. This header can be used to find the mixed content in your page. If you have a link that was loaded in your page and is over HTTP, the CSP report only will report this issue. Let's see what happens. We need to intercept again the response and inject the header here. We can see another report. This time, we can see here that the blocked URI is a HTTP link, and the violated directive is this one. This directive will block any link that is over HTTP in your website. That's it.
But just to say that because it's CSP report only, nothing is blocked actually, but it's being reported to you, so you would know that there is a link which is not secured on your website, and that is being loaded for your customers, which think they have accessed a secure website. So reputation definitely is at stake. Are we done?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we're done with the demo. I hope you've managed to see something on the monitor. The idea is, from a privacy perspective, be careful at what type of, what policies the websites that you've you're accessing load for you guys in your browser, and what information your browser will basically send to the owners of that website. That's a privacy perspective. From a security perspective, you can use CSP to protect your customers from various types of attacks, like XSS, as I mentioned, by using this policy and without necessarily changing your code and using any other measures, like for example, using a web application firewall, let's say. That's also an option to protect your website, and lots of companies use web application firewalls. So CSP is a good idea. Think about using it. And I think that concludes our presentations. Only what's left to say is just to thank all of you guys for attending. I hope you found this useful, and also thanks to the guys on the internet. Yeah, and definitely before closing, if there are any questions about anything today, yes.
About the presentation, assuming you have a content delivery network,
yeah,
which works with a round-robin algorithm,
yeah,
how will it cope with the CSP? Will it? Do you need to whitelist it, or regex is sufficient to load it properly? Because let's say you add a new image and it doesn't propagate to others, so will it block it or will it allow it?
I haven't tested, definitely, but I would say that it's sufficient that you mentioned what CDN or from where the actual content needs to be loaded. So that CDN network that you want the content to be loaded from, you whitelist that, and you should be okay. But that's just yeah, without testing anything. I can guarantee. Yeah.
Most of the Firefox users use NoScript in order to block cross-site scripting and other malicious.
Yeah.
Did you test it with this policy? Will it block it or will allow it by default?
So basically, what NoScript is a sort of a CSP at client level. This is not at client level. This policy is on the server. Basically, the server instructs what content your browser will be loading. By using NoScript, you're basically getting control over that, and you decide what you want to load in your browser.
Yeah, but by default, you have to disable it in order to make the site work, or will it block?
Well, that depends on what you configure in it, definitely. So I can't say that it will block something because I don't know what settings you have in NoScript. You don't have to disable it, definitely, because that's why you have it. You have it to protect you against what you want to be protected. So if the website wants to take something from you that you don't want to give, then definitely NoScript will be blocking that. Either, I mean, irrespective of the fact that the website is requesting that from you. But again, I haven't tested this, so this is just a theory. Any other questions on CSP? Yeah.
Considering the potential privacy implications, our browsers require to inform the user on the screen that some information is sent back. That's just like for cookies.
Yeah.
Sorry, completely.
Not yet, I would say. So the question was if there's any privacy implications, and there are. If the customer is informed in any way that this kind of information leaves his or her browser to the owner of the website, I don't know of any. So it's still pretty much in the background now, and the customer is not informed. I would say, yeah. Yes. It is, all right. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. But that's something else. So well, this is not a question. The comment is that in certain instances, when a certain domain is suspected of being a source of attacks and basically a way to exfiltrate information from your team to various methods like XSS, you will be informed about that. But that's because that domain is blacklisted. There are various ways through which you can blacklist your domain. that you can blacklist domains which are suspected. I think fish tank is one of them for phishing attacks, for example. So fish tank would be a database of domains which are suspected of issuing phishing attacks. So that's when if you access a website which is suspected, you will be actually receiving that that page which says that you might be exposed to attack, but that's basically provided by your browser, which is communicating with these databases in the background. So again, your browser will be protecting you from these things. It depends on how mature your browser is. And about browsers, definitely you should have more, not just one browser on your machine. Use a browser for social media and use another browser for your internet banking stuff. I do that, so I don't use the same browser for everything I do. When I do something which is really critical for me, there's one browser which I configured very carefully and that I trust, and that's the one I use. Otherwise, when I search, let's say, for exploits, I use a browser which has Java and JavaScript disabled by default. Or something like NoScript is an option as well. But that can become annoying because you will have to respond to a lot of alerts. So yeah, it depends on the user as well. I mean, if you want to spend your time on the internet clicking on alerts half of the time, that is an option. If you work in security, definitely you will be doing this because if you don't have patience for this, nobody else will. So yeah, there are various options, but as I said, CSP is server level. Something like NoScript is a sort of CSP, but it's at client level. Yeah, that's. Are there any other questions? No. Okay. We have a contest, so Moni will be announcing. I will also turn off the broadcast. So thank you for who joined from the internet, and Moni will be, as I said, giving a prize to somebody, and we'll see who that is. Okay. Thanks, guys.